I'm Sue Rorhbach, and I live in Centerville. I'm looking back and I'm thinking when my three sons graduated from Barnstable High School, that was a really special time. And when my kids were participating in the various sports and playing for Barnstable Little League, Barnstable High School, that kind of thing, those are really special memories. Time on the town council, the Centerville Christmas stroll is always a really good memory for me because it happens every year, and the first year was a really special year for us. And we're lucky enough to have our house right there on the stroll, so that's always really fun. Because I had just had breast cancer and I was getting better and I was told that I was going to be just fine. This was, like 25 years ago. And we went on a hayride down Main Street and it started to snow just a little bit and everybody started singing Christmas carols. And it was just the most magical moment. And I was feeling so hopeful and thankful anyway, and then just that magical moment. So the Centerville Christmas stroll has always had a really special meaning for me. I thought about that one because you told me that you were going to ask me that question. So I have a lot of favorite places, actually. The first one that came to mind was Long Beach. And I suspect that probably a lot of other people have also said that Long Beach was their favorite place. Dowses Beach, Main Street Centerville, the Centerville Library, Four Seas Ice Cream, and Main Street Hyannis. I love Main Street Hyannis too. Well, Main Street Hyannis is different. It's much more urban. But I've worked around Main Street Hyannis for quite a long time, and I just like it. It's got a whole variety of different people and great little shops and some good restaurants, and I like it. I did not encourage my children to stay in the town of Barnstable. My children are two are in their 30s and one is in his 40s. So we never encouraged them to do one thing or another. We encouraged them to go to college, but beyond that, it's always been their choice. I would love it if one or all of them came back to the town of Barnstable. And if I thought it was possible, that it was a possibility, and it was something that they were interested in, I would definitely encourage them. One is a sports writer, and he lives in Scituate, and he works from home, which would work. But his wife's career is in Boston. And I don't think I would encourage a young family to have one family member that worked in Boston and lived here. Another one lives in Baltimore, and his career is there, and his wife's career is there. His career isn't going to be someplace on the Cape, and his wife is from that area, so I don't think they're going to be moving. And my other son does political work in Washington, D.C. He works from home, but it would be hard for him to be far away from Washington. But I have occasionally worked on him. I grew up in Marblehead on the North Shore. Another seaside area, which is when we moved to Barnstable, to Centerville, I was really happy to be back by the ocean. Brown University in Providence.
And you studied?
And I studied American civilization, which is, everybody always says, what's that? What's that good for? It's a whole bunch of different things. I took classes in history, English, political science, art, philosophy, and it's been a really good, it probably wasn't preparing you for any specific career, but for me and what I've done in my life, it's been a really good background. It was fun. It was really, I really, really enjoyed it. It was the whole campaign to have the town council, to change the charter and have the town council, and then to be elected to the town council was exciting. I had always thought that someday I would like to be a selectman in a town, because we lived in a couple different places, and so I got to be on the town council. The first town council, I think at least the first couple of years, and maybe the first 4 years, because I didn't run again after 4 years, a lot of time was spent figuring out how to do things in the new way, that we weren't the selectmen anymore. We were the legislature, and the town manager was the administrator, and we had the new charter. So everything that we did, we had to figure out how to do it. And everybody was pretty congenial. Nobody kind of wanted to get into an argument with anybody else, which sometimes can be a good thing and sometimes it's not necessarily a good thing. I don't think that we realized the amount of power that we could have had. I think that it came later. Councils realized how to use the power of the council probably better than we did. But we did some important things, and I worked on some important things that I was really proud of. Yes, yeah. She was a lovely lady, Betsy was, and she was completely devoted to the town. She loved being on the town council. It was very, very important to her, and I worked on her on one thing where we worked very closely together. I worked with her and Dorothy Donaldson, who was from Hyannis, and that was a really good experience. So I had a lot of admiration and respect for Betsy. Well, when we were on the town council, it was, at least I thought it was at the time, it was nonpartisan. And I didn't have a sense of people being in a particular party or a particular group. There were people that you agreed with on some things, didn't agree with on other things. I always found that, some of the people that I really didn't agree with in one area, I would end up working with in another area. And as I said, I think people were very congenial. There weren't any little groups within the larger group at that point. When I left the town council, I went back to school at UMass Boston in a program called the Program for Women in Politics and Government, and that was a one-year certificate program. I had been a stay-at-home mom, and doing the town stuff was kind of like a part-time job, except you weren't getting paid very much. So I did that, and then when that was done, I did some various consulting kinds of things. I did a big project, I remember, for the planning department at that time. And then I went to work, and I worked for the campaign to create the land bank, and the campaign to save the 15,000 acres at the Mass Military Reservation. So that took about 5 years. And then I went to work for Senator O'Leary. When he was elected, I had known him, I had worked with him on a number of things, and he asked me to come to work for him. And then when he left the Senate, and Senator Wolf was elected, he asked me to come to work for him too. So. They're similar in many ways, and they're different in other ways. Their main focus of interest is maybe a little different, which, every senator has a different focus of interest. But what I think is really similar about them is that they're very smart, and they're really dedicated to the job of being a senator, and they're very honest, and they're very good to work for. I was appointed to the planning board shortly after we moved here in 1984, and in the fall. And that winter, I took a course at the community college on land use planning on Cape Cod or something like that. And then the town was going from an elected planning board to an appointed planning board. And I thought, I'll throw my name in, maybe they'll appoint me to something someday, because I had been on a planning board in another town. And they appointed me. So that was kind of fun. I was learning about the town and learning about being on the planning board at the same time. So I used to take field trips every week. I think one really big strength of the town is the villages, and people have a very strong allegiance to their village. Sometimes I wish people had, in general, had a strong allegiance to the town of Barnstable. And I've always felt like it was the town of Barnstable, but I think that's from being involved in town government right from the beginning. Our natural features are, a huge asset to the town, but also I think that the diversity of the population. We have a very diverse population, and that's really one of the reasons why we chose this town over others, and I really like that. Right now we're liking, well, we like Fazio's, and what's the pizza place? The new pizza place over on Main Street, right across the street. I can't think of the name of it. Pizza Barbone.
Barbone.
And the other, Paleo Pizza. So I guess we like Italian food. And Crisp in Osterville, but you can never get in there, so. And, excuse me, but the daily paper on West Main Street, we go every Saturday for breakfast, so I have to bring them up. Well, I guess I look at them in terms of, government, challenges for government, but it's also just challenges for everybody. Wastewater is probably, solving the wastewater issue is probably our biggest problem, because it's going to take a lot of planning and a lot of money. Education, we can, just improving education generally. And I think Barnstable is somewhat unique in towns in that we do have a very diverse population within our public education system, and we need to meet all their needs, and that's not an easy thing to do. Access to water. We have that challenge with the way to Long Beach that was claimed and taken by a neighbor, and so hopefully that won't become a bigger problem within the town, because those are accesses we certainly don't want to lose. Housing that's not expensive housing, that's affordable to people who live and work here. Redevelopment, commercial redevelopment on 28 and 132, and then the addiction problem is huge in Barnstable, as it is every place. Well, I would say the most exciting, it was probably getting elected to the town council. That was very exciting. Trying to think of others. It had a lot of good days. A lot of different things. Today, I went to a meeting of the Friends of Baybridge at the Baybridge Clubhouse, first thing this morning at 8 o'clock. And then I went to a meeting of the Maternal Depression Support Group. So I go to a lot of meetings. I serve on some boards for him, do a lot with human service issues, just knowing what's going on in those areas in the district, and connecting people to our office and back and forth, and letting him know about things that people want and things that are needed, and just kind of what's going on. And then I also work on transportation issues and some of the public safety issues, and anything else that comes along. It's different every day. You know, it's funny, at one point, one of the things I was doing was going to different selectmen's meetings, just to observe the selectmen's meetings. And every town is different. And you go to every town, and it has wonderful things about it, and you think, oh, I'd kind of like to live here. So they all have assets that are really good. I could probably pick out a couple, but I'm not going to say what they are. I think I have to say the fall, because then everybody's gone home. And the summer is really nice and it's exciting, but there comes a day in August, always, where I say to myself, okay, it's time for them to go home. I've had enough. And, you know, that's usually around the middle of August, and then things start to quiet down. And then it's just beautiful, you know, and you can be outside, but it's not hot, it's really nice. But the seasons all have their assets. It's quieter in the winter. I like that. The spring is exciting because you're looking forward to the summer, and the summer is fun because people come to visit. There's lots of things to do. So it's a great place to live year round. Sue Rorhbach, Centerville.